what happens when you don't fit the mold? Better yet, what happens when they tell you that you don't fit the mold? If you've ever been told that you're too much, you're just too different, or you're not just right, you don't have enough expertise, or you have too much experience. If you've ever been told any of those things, then this episode is for you. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why not fitting their mold was never your weakness. You'll understand why it was and still is your greatest advantage. And as I said, it still is, and it will still continue to be if you know exactly what to do with it. My friends, welcome to With Karen D, the podcast, the place where we get real about one thing, and it's good things do not come to those who wait. Good things come to those who go out and get it. Now, if you're new to my podcast, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name's Karen Donaldson, celebrity communication, body language, confidence, and peak performance coach. Now, it always wasn't like that. And I want to get into and talk about it because I want you to know a little bit more about who I am, who I was, and who I continue to grow to be. And here's what I want to tell you. I never fit their mold. And here's what it taught me. So let's literally jump into it. I remember walking into so many offices and people second guessing who I was or looking at me like I was lying because of my title. And to them, there was a mismatch. To them, there was a mismatch between my title and how I looked or how they thought I should have looked. I could not possibly be Karen Donaldson, the senior executive public speaking coach, coming in to work with their CEO. One, I couldn't be Black. Two, for some people, and when I started doing this work, they thought I was a lot younger than I actually was. So I was too young. Three, what could she possibly know? And I want to tell you what happened to me once. I remember when I got started working with C-suite executives, senators, politicians, high net worth individuals, here's how it started. I was working for an organization. I was delivering a keynote on behalf of the organization, and a colleague of mine who I worked with, so I used to sit at senior tables, the CEO of a company who I'd worked with, a good friend at that time, came over and asked me, well, Karen, who hired you, or who did you hire? Who did my organization hire for me to learn to speak that way, like so powerfully and command attention on stage? And I laughed at him and I said, no one hired me. Sorry, no one trained me. And he's like, yeah. Like, Karen, you can tell me, I can afford them. This is a CEO wanting to know who trained me to speak like that. And in that moment, I said, listen, I've been speaking for years. And if you want me to coach you on how to do the same, which is in truth, be more comfortable in your own skin when presenting, I can totally do that. And he hired me. So my first public speaking client was a CEO. So we worked together. He went out, he did his thing. His peers noticed, his colleagues noticed. Then all of a sudden, he started to refer me to other CEOs, other COOs, other CMOs. They started to call and they would book me right away. They didn't care what my fee was. They saw the proof in their friend, their colleague, who they saw that growth in as far as their presenting skills. Got it? So I just want to give you the context and the background. That's how I got started in that field. And after CEOs, it went to politicians. Then all of a sudden I got an email from someone in LA. I got an email from an actor, then a celebrity, then a musician, then professional athletes. That's how I started to work in that realm. Now let's get back to my story. So when I worked with that first CEO, as I shared, I was referred. So people used to book me. And this was before the savvy days of internet where you could jump online and find out a whole bunch of information about someone. They trusted that I was a person that he hired to get him to look so kick-ass on stage when he was presenting, basically. So they booked me, did not know what I looked like. So I would now make the appointment. Our first session is on Thursday, 9 a.m., and I would show up at the office. So let me break down what happened. I went to see a new client. My invoice had been paid in full, walked in, and there was a receptionist sitting at her desk, and it was a higher desk, so she was sitting a little bit below, so you kind of stand up and look down. And she said, "Hello, may I help you?" I said, "Yes, my name's Karen Donaldson. I'm here to work with Mr. So-and-so." She looked down into her agenda long before, I can't even say this. Appointments used to be written in books. Depends on who's watching and listening to this. Appointments used to be written in books before they used to be on the computer screen. So she looked down, she saw the time, she looked back up at me, she looked back down, and she said, "Are you Karen Donaldson?" And she said, "Are you Karen Donaldson?" She said that twice. And I said, "Yes, I'm Karen Donaldson." She looked back down in her book. She put her head back up. Then she said to me, "Is Karen Donaldson being dropped off at the front door?" So now in my head, I'm thinking, well, I just told you that I'm Karen Donaldson, but she didn't believe me. So she then asked me to have a seat. So I sat down in the waiting area, and she picked up the phone and called her CEO in his office and said this, and she didn't know that I heard her. Or maybe she wanted me to hear it, but she was whispering, but I was full, all ears on. And she said, "Mr. So-and-so, there's a Black lady in this room who said she's Karen Donaldson." And I don't know what he said at that end, and she put down the phone. She paused for a minute. She didn't immediately move. She didn't immediately address me. I didn't hear the conversation. And as I sat there, having listened to what she just said, I had a conversation in my own head with my own self. Because in that moment, I could have gotten up and given her a tongue lashing based on what her perspective was and what she thought. But then I had to remind myself that I was there for a bigger purpose. And mind you, had it been a few years earlier, you would have received a different Karen D, and I would have totally stood up and said something. I would have given her a piece of my mind. However, I knew that I was there to do a job, and I was very grounded in who I was. I knew I was good. I knew I was that good, and I couldn't allow the small thoughts of someone else to really deter or influence what I thought about myself. So I didn't. She then stood up and she said, "Karen, could you please follow me?" And she walked me to the boardroom where my new client, who I was also meeting for the first time, came in. So he came in and I had to address it, not to make it an issue, but I want him to know what happened up front. And of course, we did, the novelty, "Nice to meet you. This is great. First time." And I said, "I do want to share something with you because it happened to me and I'm sharing it in hopes that it doesn't happen to anyone else." And I gave him the scenario and he looked stunned, but I also knew that he picked up the phone when she said, "There's a Black woman in here who's saying she's Karen D." Got it? And I said, "I don't need a response for you. I don't need you to come back and tell me what happened after if you choose to have a conversation with her. I just want to let you know that this happened because it's not okay. And I'm hoping that this isn't representative of your organization." And he said, "Leave it with me." And I left it with him. I moved on. For me, it was over. I just needed to tell him what happened, that it wasn't okay, because I was there to do a job, my job. So I did it. So I coached him. He referred me to a bunch of other people, and it was amazing. And I tell you that story because I clearly didn't fit the mold that she had. I often go out, and that's one of many occurrences and many scenarios where I go into offices and people ask me if I'm the assistant to Karen D. And I'm like, "No, I'm Karen D." People's perception does not have to be your reality. When it comes to fitting someone's mold, I ask the question, well, whose mold? Who said your mold is right? What if I'm not moldable? What if I don't fit your square that you see? Because I don't. And no one should have to. You see, I'm a senior executive communication, confidence, and peak performance coach. And in the midst of all that, and in the midst of traveling the world speaking, having clients all over the world, I've been told these things and I want to share it because this is me. This is where I've come from. This has been my experience. And in all honesty, it hasn't stopped. I've been told, well, Karen, you know what? Your jewelry is a bit loud. It's a bit big. Do you think you want to tone it down? No, because this is Karen D. I've been told, Karen, we're having a dress down day, but you continue to dress up. You can dress down on our Fridays. Well, no, this is just how I dress. And I don't shift. I don't have to shift for anyone. I have been told that, maybe when I speak on stage, and if you don't know me, and most of you may not, when I speak on stage or when I usually train in front of groups, do workshops, seminars, that type of thing, I'm that person who loves to wear a dress. So you will not catch me in a pantsuit. So I've been told, because once again, I didn't fit the keynote speaker mold, maybe it'd be more professional if you wore a pantsuit. Well, no, I don't want to because I'm okay wearing a dress. My friends, when someone tells you that you don't fit their mold, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. I lived years with people telling me that. And here's the thing. The problem with me never fitting in was not about what they said. When they said I didn't fit the mold, it wasn't about them in truth. It was about me wholeheartedly believing and living like I needed to fit into their mold to be accepted. And that is not true. And I'm going to say it again. The work that you put in to try to fit into someone's mold is not about them. It's about your belief. It's about you believing that you need to fit in to be okay, to be accepted, to be liked. And that's not true. So I want to share what I did. I want to share what I teach. And this is something for you to consider or not. If I've said anything so far that sounds familiar or feels familiar, it may not be exact, but you're like, Karen, yes, I hear you. Yes, I've been there. Based on your own scenario, here are some things that I want you to consider. Here's how I had to learn to manage it. I did these 4 things. The first thing I did was this. I stopped trying to fit in. I simply stopped trying to fit into something that possibly was never meant for me, knowing this, and this is important, not everything we do is meant for us. I am not the right communication coach for everyone, and that's okay. I am not the right keynote speaker for every conference or every event, and that's okay. Some people will like my style just like you. Some people like the way you do something and some won't. And that's okay. I wasn't put on this earth to be the right coach, the right keynote speaker, the right trainer for everyone. And either were you. Stop trying to fit in. When you try to fit into something that wasn't meant for you, you in truth lose yourself. The second thing that I did and I focused on was this. I had to stop wanting to fit in. I had to stop wanting to fit in and get really comfortable in my own skin. And what I mean by that is this. I was okay with what I did not do well, and I hyper focused on what I did do well. And that's really counterproductive because we have been socialized to focus on all the things we need to work on and how we need to get better. And far too often we believe that we need to be perfect or close enough to perfection in every area of our life. And that's not true. You spend so much time, you waste so much time, so much oxygen. I like to say that you waste so much oxygen when you try to create a perfect perspective and a perfect life, when in truth, people just want you as is. You simply need to believe that you are enough as is, regardless if you are a certain age and you think you should be somewhere else. Regardless if You have 500, 5,000, 50,000 minus $500 in your bank account. You get to choose what you believe about yourself. Stop wanting to fit in. And I have an exercise that I've done for myself. I have it on my phone. It's an exercise that I share with my clients as well. And we're going to do the exercise. I want to give you the steps to do the exercise, so should you choose, and I'll tell you how to use it later. So here's what I want you to do. Get a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to shut off all distractions. Just take 5 minutes to yourself, turn off your phone, put it on silent or airplane mode, or do it in your car before you go into the house or go into work. I want you to make a list of 5 things that you're really good at based on what you think about yourself. Forget about everyone else. And then I want you to, underneath that, make a list of 5 really big accomplishments based on yourself, like really big things that you accomplish, achievements, whatever they are, personal, professional, socially, I don't care. So you have a list of 5 things that you're really good at, 5 that you've accomplished. And I want you to look at that handwritten piece of paper and read over those things 3 times, because this is you. We need to remind ourselves of who we are in this world. And after you've written it down 3 times, I want you to take out your phone and take a picture of it and save this picture and put it in a folder and name it something like, this is who I am, or this is who I am in the world. So in those moments where you're second guessing yourself, in those moments where you catch yourself trying to fit in, you jump back to this image and remind yourself of how powerful you are in this world. Got it? Now, the third thing that I did and I teach is, well, more so for me, I realized that I was prioritizing someone else's, their opinion, like it was the law, like it came from the Bible, instead of leaning into believing my own opinion and my own thoughts. And has that ever happened to you before? You're talking to someone about something and they start to share their thoughts, and you're shaking your head, you're liking what they're saying, and then you leave the conversation. Then you sit down, you're by yourself, and you realize that you don't even agree with what they just said and how it relates to you. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But the biggest question is this: whose opinion are you prioritizing? Sometimes you need to pause and ask yourself, why am I prioritizing someone else's opinion and putting so much emphasis on what someone else thinks who may not even know me or only read about me on paper? Why am I putting so much weight into what they think? You get to stop it. Prioritize your own opinion. You know, I started receiving, and I'm not saying to dismiss people because that's not necessary. You can receive what people say, but no longer make it law. Simply decide that your opinion is a priority, not theirs. You can listen, you can receive, but you don't have to live it. And that's so important, because when it comes to fitting into someone else's mold, sometimes we deeply hold this belief that someone else knows what's better for me. And that is not necessarily true. You know what's best for you. You just have to believe that you know what's best for you. And I'm not saying that you can't have a mentor or you shouldn't have a mentor or a coach. I have many of them for different areas of my own life, as do some of the clients that I work with. However, you have the last decision. You have the last decision. So if you always find yourself, if you're going with the flow of someone else's thoughts, you need to check yourself and ask yourself, well, what do I think? What do I believe? What do I want for myself? And take back the power to make decisions on your own behalf. The fourth thing that I had to do was this. This is huge, especially in this day and age, in our society of instant answers, in our reality of AI, not good or bad. Watch this. We have to stop taking offense to everyone's ill words. We have to stop taking offense to everyone's opinions that don't align with yours. Because taking offense is a choice. It's a highly time-consuming choice. That's truly a waste of time. Listen, and I said it already, everyone in the world is entitled to their opinion. and so are you. We spend so much time and energy. And when I say time, just think about times that you've been somewhere with someone and they said something and you took personal offense to it, although they were simply sharing their opinion. Or better yet, think about sometime you've been scrolling online, whatever you're looking at, watching, reading. I'm just going to name a few social media platforms: IG, Pinterest, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, blah, 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 whatever. Choose your mix. And you read someone's post and you get so pissed at what the person said. Why are you taking such offense? It's about building the ability to read, watch, listen to something, receive it, don't make it law, and release it. I'll say it again. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and so are you. Why are you allowing their opinion to have so much weight on what you believe or influence your day so heavily? Stop taking offense to things that don't mean anything to you, things that are opposite to how you think, how you live, or your values. Let it go and let people be. And choose to focus on what you want for yourself. You see, when I started to do these 4 things, I started to stand out for the right reasons. I started to stand out as Karen D with the big jewelry. I started to stand out as Karen D, the Karen D who's always smiling. I got to stand out as the Karen D with the big jewelry who likes to wear a dress, who gets called by NBC to do a guest expert panel. I started to stand out as the Karen D the way I wanted to show up because I liked it, not because it fit in to a group of people, not because it fit into how a senior executive public speaking coach should look, because I am not trying to impress anyone. The work of impressing people is so heavy and sadly so short-lived. And I'll have to say, I've been there. Like, you do all this work to impress someone, and you get there and, it's either you're dressing a certain way or you're preparing a certain way only to please someone. And you get in that scenario or you get in that setting and they don't even notice it. And you're like, are you freaking serious? I did all this and like they didn't even say anything? Waste of time, right? Show up as your true self, because that's what the world needs. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have goals. I'm not saying that you shouldn't want to get better, but be the best version of yourself, right? Don't try and be the next Gary Vee. Don't try and be the next Tony Robbins. Don't try and be the next Oprah. Don't try and be the next, you name the person. Be a better version of yourself. And no offense to Tony, whoever's listening, no offense to whoever I just named. Love them all, but they're not replaceable. The world wants and needs you. Now, just so you know, this doesn't happen overnight. And when I get stuck in these moments where I feel, and it's continual because it's continual work, and when I get stuck in these moments where I feel like I'm being pulled to fit into something or somewhere, I stop myself. And here are 2 strategies that I use that I highly encourage you to use too, if anything I've spoken about resonates. I tell myself this one thing, and I ask myself this one question. 1, I tell myself this: Karen, and you'd insert your name, don't you freaking forget who you are in this world right now. And that's when I go back to that saved picture. Remember that exercise we did on the phone? Go back to that saved picture and you look at it and you remind yourself of who you are in this world, because that's you. If we get to fuel our mind with anything, choose to fuel it with something that's true. And what you wrote, those 5 things that you do well and those 5 accomplishments, that's who you truly are. Reminder, when it comes to your self-belief, a belief is simply a thought that you keep thinking over and over and over again. And most of our thoughts are based on what we consume. So why not be intentional with what you consume? That's the whole purpose of that picture, for you to continually consume the reality of who you are in the world. So when you get into situations, it's no longer conscious behavior. It's sitting in your mind and it reminds you in those moments. So it's now easier for you to show up comfortable in your own skin, because standing out no longer holds a meaning, a negative meaning, right? Now, that's the first thing. That's what I tell myself. And then I ask myself this one question when I get caught in trying to fit into something. I ask myself this: Karen, you didn't insert your own name, who are you choosing to show up as in this moment? Because everyone needs the real Karen D. Or for you, everyone needs the real whatever your name is. I'm going to say it again. You ask yourself this question: who are you choosing to show up as in this exact moment? Because everyone needs the real you. The world wants you. Your perfections, your imperfections, your quirks, the things you do well, the things you don't do well. They need all of it. You as is, there's nothing wrong with you. Remember, the problem was never you fitting in. It was you believing and living like you needed to fit in to be accepted. I want you to accept yourself. Once you choose, and it is a choice, once you choose to accept yourself, you'll be blown away at how profoundly more powerful and confident you are in everything that you do. Everything. What happens when you don't fit the mold is essentially nothing unless you choose to make something bigger than it really is. If you've ever been told that you're too much, you're too different, it's okay, because you are different and you're supposed to be different. When you don't fit the mold, remember, it was never your weakness. It's always been your greatest advantage. And that's what not fitting the mold has taught me. And I'm hoping that if you heard something today that resonates, if you know someone who needs to hear this episode, I'm asking you for a huge favor. I'm asking you to I'm asking you to comment below. Tell me about your experiences. Tell me about what you do, how you check yourself, how you manage when you feel like you don't fit the mold. How do you get yourself out of showing up that way, trying to fit into someone else's box? Share it below, just in the comment area. And if you know someone who needs to watch this, to listen to this, please share it with them. Grab the link, share it, because my intention is to remind you as I close out today the fact, the truth, that good things do not come to those who wait. Good things come to those who go out and get it. My friends, thank you for sitting with me on With Karen D, the podcast. I'll see you next time.